Brodes Media.
Yo! Coffee with Brodes is back Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Coffee with Brodes is back Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Coffee with Brodes is back Thursday morning at 11 a.m. The way you get access to it, of course, is joining the membership, the community here on Brodes Media for $4.99 a month, and starting this Thursday, March 28th, every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m., we will be going live for the community, drinking our coffee together. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And you also get access to our Discord channel. The link for both of these is down below in the description. Can't wait to see you all there. I love you to death and enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. I would love to sit here and pretend like I know baseball is going to be played on Thursday, but unfortunately, every single time that I refresh my social media pages, here's another weather expert telling me what the rain's going to look like on Thursday at around 3 o'clock, where what I really want to do is know that the first pitch will happen, know that there's going to be a lot of drunk assholes that are tailgating in Jetro, shotgunning IPAs and rolling up fat blunts, getting insanely ready to go for a beatdown of the Braves. That's what I want to happen, but I don't know. I just don't know, unfortunately. So it sucks, man. It sucks. And it's kind of killing my vibe for how I lay out this week because, as you all know, we've been doing a little bit of the countdown to Phillies opening day. But is opening day going to be Friday? Is it not going to be Friday? I'm very uncomfortable, and everybody knows I don't like when I'm uncomfortable, and unfortunately, I'm uncomfortable more times than I would like to admit when it comes to covering these teams, and I don't know where they actually stand, and are they playing well? Are they not playing well? Am I going to get my heart ripped out of my chest? Am I not going to get my heart ripped out of my chest? I have no idea, but here's what I do know. I predict this team to be damn good. I predict this team to be in a position to legitimately compete for the World Series. I see this team being an absolute juggernaut, even though the Diamondbacks are trying to make splashes and trying to make moves, and they go get Jordan Montgomery last night, which sucks because I would have paid that money. That wouldn't have stopped me. I would have at least been in the conversation and talking to Scott Boras very actively. He goes for 1 year, $25 million. There's a club option for a second year for very similar money. That wouldn't have scared me at all. Now, I won't allow for that to upset me today as I anticipate the season beginning. But if the season starts off with horrible pitching and the starter going down and Taijuan Walker really playing a role in some harsh reality, then I'd be like, yo, how did you not see this? I saw this coming a mile away. You have to improve the rotation. You thought you needed to improve it prior to Taijuan Walker even getting injured. That's why you reached out to Yamamoto and his camp. So clearly it was on your mind, but I won't let that affect me today. I promise you. We will talk about some positivity today. I just listened to Kyle Schwarber speak with Joe Giglio and Hugh Douglas of the Midday Show on WIP, and he was asked about the leadoff position, and I didn't really grab that audio cut because he gave you just a professional answer of, I'm number 12, meaning his jersey number. I don't care if Rob Thompson bats me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. My job is to help this baseball team win games. So he didn't really give us much there, but he was asked about what it's like to have a lot of expectations as you roll into a season, which I thought was fascinating. Also, the slow starts and how they're sort of looking at that internally. And then what's it like for opening day as a pro? I mean, we all pretend we're young again at some point. Every time I go to a Wells Fargo Center, the Wells Fargo Center for a Flyers game, I just picture myself being 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old on my driveway, wearing a Simone Gagne jersey, pretending I'm going to win the Stanley Cup in Game 7. And then when you accidentally miss the net, there's 5 more seconds that got added onto the clock. How did that happen? I have no idea. Somebody scores! Well, we all do that, right? Well, what's it like for a pro athlete to live and experience opening day? Because it's the greatest. It's the greatest. So we'll get to that stuff. And we'll play the audio and we'll react. But I guess I'll give you a couple individual predictions prior to getting to that. So my first individual prediction would be Kyle Schwarber leads off more than anybody else. And I don't know if that's going to upset you or not. There's actually a ton of buzz about Trey Turner potentially being in the conversation of MVP. Now, I don't really think that that's going to happen. I do acknowledge that he is a superstar, and he's probably even better than what we all remember him as last season because of the struggles and because of how ugly it looked. There was a time where he was the face of the World Baseball Classic, and think about how much talent is on all of these teams. You're talking about superstar everywhere, and Trey Turner was the biggest of them all. He was raking. Now, I don't expect him to hit that amount of home run, have that amount of pop over the long haul here, but there definitely is a notch above what we experienced last season. I'm not going to pretend like that's not true, but MVP discussion is a totally different monster. I'm a little shocked to see it, but I bring that up to you because if that is the case, and he is seriously there, he's 1, 2, 3, the talk of the town is, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Well, then at that point, maybe he is hitting leadoff. I like that. If that's the case, I'm not against allowing him to hit leadoff because I want my best players to get the most at-bats. I'm very simple. And if he's arguably in the MVP conversation, then he's clearly playing at the top of the league, and there's not that many better than him all around the sport. So if he can get more at-bats, then okay. But I don't see that happening. So with that said, I believe Kyle Schwarber should lead off and will lead off more than anybody else. Now, I do want to bring up this stat from Ryan Spader, only because it talks about this a little bit, and he's a big believer that Bryce Harper should lead off every single game. And the way that you should sort of picture a lineup instead of 1 through 9 is 1 through 10. So Bryce Harper bats 1, and then he also bats 10th. And with that, he says, on average, the leadoff spot will come to the plate about 34 more times per season than the 3-hole. So that's roughly 7.5 more games worth of plate appearances. So you'd be getting almost 7.5 more games of Bryce Harper at-bats, or in my case, Kyle Schwarber at-bats, or in some old school people's minds, maybe Trey Turner would have 7.5 more games worth of plate appearances, and that's significant. That really is. So I'm on board for it being Bryce Harper, even though it won't be Bryce Harper. I think it'll be Kyle Schwarber because they have clearly, absolutely been fantastic in making serious runs with him there. But, I do think that they like the idea of Trey Turner. If things didn't go south last season for him individually, maybe we would have seen it more, and they got desperate and they had to make a change because things weren't really happening the way that they would like to. So they went back to their comfort zone, and then boom, bada bang, bada boom, here we go. But if you want to try and help out with the slow starts, maybe we just go to what you know works instead of plug and play and experiencing and all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, then you can start looking at, when does Kyle Schwarber normally take off? What month is it, the Kyle Schwarber month? Do we try certain things, and then when we know Kyle Schwarber is going to be electric, we plug him back at the top? I'm not sure, right? You have a lot of different options. But my prediction for 2024 would be that Kyle Schwarber leads off more than anybody else. I want to look at a few things defensively here. So I have 2 on the defensive side. I believe Trey Turner's defense improves very, very heavily. All right, so I've read a lot up on a lot of these different individuals and how they've been kind of approaching their off seasons, what they've been working on both sides of the diamond, and it just seems like Trey Turner's way more comfortable with the staff now, and now his boots are in the ground here in Philly, so there's just an understanding of everything from top to bottom with this organization. And last year was a little wonky. It was a little all over the place on the defensive side. I would not be stunned if we get get a way crisper and cleaner version of Trey Turner. Now, there's more of a feel of him and Bryson Stott turning two. You get a little bit more reps involved. You're feeling good about yourself. And by the way, I know we like to pretend like this doesn't happen, but when you suck at the plate, it absolutely impacts you on the other side. I mean, it just impacts the way that you approach the game. And when you're down in the dumps and you're upset and you're sad and you feel down about how you're playing and you know you're letting your teammates down and the fans are sort of on your back as well, so there's added pressure. Home games feel like hostile environments. Prior to the standing ovation, there'd be that angst every time he was up at the plate and a couple of boos whenever something goes wrong. Well, that plays a role, okay? It's very toxic to go to work that way. And now that I'm sure he feels a lot better, he's in a way better place mentally. If he starts off the season really performing well at the dish, I think that absolutely attacks his swag on the defensive side. Maybe we see a little Jeter where it's an insane backhand. He jumps up in the air, he fires it across the diamond. Bryce Harper with an excellent stretch, keeps his foot on the bang, bang play, 45,000 people at CPP ride. It's the third out of the inning, so the fellas are trotting their way back to the dugout, and you see the fans that are right behind them. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. And then Trey starts to really pop off defensively on both sides of the plate, on both sides of the field. And yeah, man, like I think that we're absolutely going to get that. And also Bryce Harper at first base. And I don't want to be skewed because I'm understanding that Rhys Hoskins was the one that previously played first. Because if we were in a situation where the last first baseman we watched was a Gold Glove first baseman, then we'd probably have different expectations for what we could live and die with over there. But because Rhys was just basically a machine that would hit 30 bombs, 100 RBI, but defensively he takes a step backwards to play an awful bounce. He falls back, he falls on his ass, and then a ball rolls to right field, and now the other team's getting an extra bag. Maybe a run scores, and now you have to play catch up, or you were up 2 runs, now you're only up 1, so you're making it more difficult to win a game. All that stuff. It sucked, man. It sucked. But I love Rhys to death. I just actually saw a video of him hitting a spring training home run, and that swing, the way that he knows it's gone, the trot around the bases, I'll miss it. I turned into a big Rhys fan, and you absolutely, in my mind, could have found a way to keep him, let him play first, have Bryce Harper play right field. I mean, I would have absolutely looked for a way to make it happen. But I understand the direction they went in at the same exact time. But I think Bryce Harper can be a stud at first base. There'll be a learning curve, all right? There'll be some unfortunate, disappointing ground balls, or maybe he doesn't get the proper jump or the proper read right off the bat, and you can tell that he was a half step too slow. There's going to be mistakes, no doubt about it. But sometimes you watch these performances and the way he flashes his leather. How about when he actually returned and played a little bit last year with that foul ball and he's falling over the railing and the netting's moved? What are we doing, man? I need to see you stay out on the field. I can't be doing that. But that's the way that he's wired to play. And because of that killer mentality, the way that he's approaching being a first baseman, because guess what? This is it. This is the way his trajectory's going. This is where he's going to be in a Phillies uniform for probably the rest of the time. And in his eyes, when he gets his 90-year extension, when he's signed until he's 106, he's going to be playing first base. So because of that, I think his killer mentality is just, that's the way he is. He's not going to fail at anything that he does, and he won't even be okay with being serviceable over there. He wants to be great. He probably has the mindset of, I want to be the greatest first baseman to ever live. But could you imagine? But anyway, with the whole Rhys Hoskins thing, we're sort of experiencing it from such a low point because, let's be honest, Rhys wasn't talented defensively, that we watch it differently. But I do believe that he's going to be a stud. Another prediction, I do think Bohm reaches 25 homers. He had, a 7 home run jump last year? So we got to that 20 mark, which is a big step for me in the growth department. Can we get to 25? I think a minimum of 25 is absolutely in play for Bomer, and I'm excited to see that. I really do have high expectations for the kid. There was a time, and if you're big into hockey, I think Morgan Frost is a good example. Morgan Frost, for whatever reason, I can't even put my fingertips on it, honestly, but there were times where he rubbed the fan base the wrong way, and maybe it was because he was projected to be a first-round pick with this high ceiling, didn't really live up to it at times, and half the fan base liked him, half the fan base didn't like him. And with Alec Boehm, I thought in the beginning, I didn't know if he'd be a third baseman every day. I just couldn't imagine him playing that hot corner and being electric. Well, he proved me wrong and has been awesome, but he's won me over is my point. Morgan Frost won me over, and Alec Boehm has won me over, where, I love watching him play. I didn't feel that way for a little bit of time there. Not enough power for my liking, inside-out swing, awful defensively. Thought he was probably going to have to move across the diamond at some point. Awesome. Just awesome. So that's where I'm at. I got one negative on my predictions, just because I got to be objective. I think we'll probably get annoyed with the center field, Rojas, Marsh, Whit Merrifield maybe, and who else am I? Oh, Pat Shea. I don't know. Dave Dombrowski recently spoke, and his message is what a lot of people say. If your 1 through 7 hitters are doing their job, you're probably not going to be bitching about your 9th hitter. I disagree, because you need sometimes a role player to be an important guy. You just do. You do. That's where we're at. Sometimes good teams are going to go through some very awkward series. They're going to have some down spots. Bryce Harper might be in an 0 for 14 stretch. Trey Turner might be in a 2 for 22 stretch. Some of these guys might struggle. But what separates you from being a great team and a good team is who can step up when that's happening. And if you're 8th hole, if Brandon Marsh helps you win a few games as an 8-hole hitter when Kyle Schwarber is struggling, that means you are extremely talented all the way through your lineup. That adds an element that other teams don't have. Some teams have to live and die by 2 or 3 guys. And if those 2 or 3 guys don't work, you are absolutely screwed. If you want to win a championship, and if you have the idea of seriously winning the Commissioner's Trophy and getting your damn trophy back, you have to separate yourself from those teams. And if that's the case, you might have to rely on Brandon Marsh at the bottom of your lineup. You may have to. I mean, Bryson Stott, if he's batting 7, if Marsh is batting 8th, if Rojas is batting 9th, I'm just saying, I do think it's important for those guys to be able to do something, because at that point, I can't hold you accountable. At that point, he just doesn't have any expectations at all. He's got to hit 63. All right, who cares? It's like, no, your job is to be able to perform. Now, I get it. Some people have weaknesses. Some people have strengths, and, you value what that guy does, what this guy does. But we're talking, all right, if he was hitting 208, 210, and this isn't a Kyle Schwarber thing, by the way, because the dude smokes 50 bombs, so remove him for a second here. But if Rojas is batting 210, 215, and it's not great, but it's still serviceable, and he gives you a very reasonable, solid, elite glove in center field, that's different. But if he's 110, 115, that's destroying you. So I don't need my 9-hole hitter to be a 270 guy. I probably could live in that 220 range or so. And yeah, he hit 300 last season, but I don't think he's a 300 hitter, right? And he's probably not a 68 hitter either. He hit 170-ish in spring training. So just for whatever it's worth, I don't know. I just think we're going to get aggravated at some point with maybe the usage of the Whit Merrifield, the Brandon Marsh, the left-handed stick out in the outfield compared to how they're going to juggle around these right-handed bats for the outfield. I predict that at some point that may bother us a tad. So those are sort of my individual predictions here. And yeah, as a team, I expect them to probably win 92 games. I see the over-under at 90.5. I think there might be flirting around 92, 93 wins. First wild card team, Braves win the division. So that's what I predict. All right? So we have some anytime hotline calls. We have Kyle Schwarber as well. Let's take a listen to Schwarbs, all right, because he's the man. So let's take a listen to Kyle Schwarber here. Once again, this was on the midday show on WIP, and he spoke here on the expectations, what it's like to enter a season with the expectations.
I think expectations are a good thing. That means that, you're going out there, you're trying to have success, and you're trying to reach an end goal. And, we've been close the last few years, and manager, coaching staff, players, we all want to win. And that makes it for a fun work environment every day to come into the field. So, yeah, man, our mindset's there. It's going to be day one, and, we're going to have goals along the way that we want to accomplish. We want to win the division, but at the end of the day, you got to find a way in and try to put ourselves in a really good position and try to make it to the end.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back with the starting the season off slow thing because, and we'll get to that in 1 second here, because the expectations are so high, the pressure's there. There's a big difference, whether you like to admit it or not, and this is the difference in being wired the way you need to be wired. When there's no pressure at all, when you're a team that's not supposed to beat the St. Louis Cardinals on the road in a wild card series, and then you end up doing it, and then you have this wild wave, and it came out of nowhere. Remember, we didn't even like the team that year prior to that playoff run, and that's why we're in such an amazing spot now, because I think we have an understanding on who you are. There was a relationship bond between the fans and the players themselves, but they weren't really proven to us prior to that St. Louis Cardinals series. There wasn't a lot of pressure to do it. Now that the pressure is there, how much does that change? And you want to be in this position. There's no better spot to be in sports than I have a serious chance to compete. You don't want to be a flirt around, a playoff team, maybe not, no one believes in you, underdog story. That's why I always hated when the Eagles fans and when certain guys would be like, hey, no one believes. I don't want to be the no one believes in us people. I want to be the New England fucking Patriots, right? I want to be the team that the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are consistently going to win Stanley Cups. Everyone's afraid of you. No one wants to play you. And there is an element of that with this team because they know of the power, they know of the talent, and they know what the home field advantage is like for CBP. I don't think they look at the Diamondbacks and go, well, anybody can beat them in their own ballpark. That was sort of an anomaly. I don't think that's the reality, of where we're at with this home ballpark. But I do wonder what it's going to be like also with the expectations of the slow starts, like the added pressure from a go win a championship standpoints there, but is there added pressure of, hey, we got to make sure in April we rake and we dominate, and does that take you out of your rhythm at all? Very favorable schedule in this early stages, so you should be able to rack up a bunch of wins and put yourself in a good position. But let's take a listen here. Kyle Schwarber on the slow start and how they're going to look to change that.
I don't think that you talk to anyone in the clubhouse that that will go out there trying to start slow. Just one of those things that it happens, and we're out there. Whenever we step on that field, and we cross out those lines. We're expecting ourselves to win a baseball game. We're not going out there. Mm-hmm. There's never a day in 162 games that we're going out there thinking, man, this is a loss. You know what I mean? There's just never a day. And there's going to be days that you have a good win, a bad loss, they beat us, or a bad win, right? Like, it's just how it goes throughout the course of the year. So, if we can get off to a better start, I think it's going to help us out. But also, too, like we said, and it's the last 2 years, we gotten off to that slow start, and we found a way in there. So, I think at the end of the day, it's just us going out there trying to find a way in there. But yeah, definitely think that, do we want to get off to a better start? Absolutely.
So that was the second time that he referenced, and this was a little bit earlier in his interview, but that he brought up the idea of just kind of getting in and letting things play out. And he also mentioned wanting to win the division, though. So I think that we are now in this world of baseball where there was once a time where division wins were everything. You had to win your division. There's no other way in to the dance than winning the division. But because of this new format, there is this idea of it's not applied the same way. And that is true. Now, I still want to have the attitude and that flair, that that fire to be a killer mentality team because that's what makes you great. It does, you know? And I don't care that some teams have struggled when they had a bye week waiting for the NLDS to start. I don't care because I've watched teams do it, and those teams were phenomenal. The Houston Astros, phenomenal team, beat you in the World Series. I want that. That's the way I want to do it. All right? And that's the way I approach the season before the season begins and while the season is happening. If we end up living in a world where by the end of the year, and we're reaching fall time, football is getting going, and we're down that back stretch of baseball, and you recognize you're 13, 14 games back of the Braves, you're not going to want to win the division, then yes, I will open up the door of, who cares, get in, let this thing happen, we've seen it play out before, and we'll go down that path. But prior to the season beginning, I don't know what way, as a fan, to enter a season other than to put the foot on the gas and make a statement to the Braves. All right? Like, there's a portion of this fan base that is a little worried because you're playing with fire. Meaning, how many years in a row can you beat the Braves in the playoffs? How many years in a row can you do this as a wild card team? Like, at some point, the Braves are going to get your number. At some point, the Braves are going to be so pissed off that they find a way to crush your soul and you don't end up winning. And there is a portion of the fan base that feels that way. And I would say, my rebuttal would be, then go be the 98-win division-winning team. Go do that. Go beat the Braves a few more times in the regular season so their win total drops. So it doesn't take 103 wins to win the division. Go win 98, 99 games. Like, be that team where it's more than just, well, all right, well, you know, here's that scrappy little, like, if they win the division, the Braves, that is, and they see you as a wild card team again, like, all right, look, we will finally get them. Like, we're going to get them. But if you go make the statement in the regular season, and now the Braves are the wild card team, you're the division winner, I think it could play with their psyche, and now in the back of their head, go, oh my God, this Phillies team, we let them jump. This Phillies, they're different. There's a different monster. Starts to set down. Phillies have all the confidence in the world. Zach Wheeler thrives. See, that's what people forget too. The Braves lineup wasn't the same in the postseason because they had 5 days off, 4 days. No. Zach Wheeler pitched in the playoffs because Zach Wheeler pitching in the playoffs, studying the tape, knowing their tendencies, doing all the research, applying it to the greatness of Zach Wheeler is not the same as 162 regular season games and the offense exploding against the Oakland A's. I'm just telling you what it is. All right? So let's do one more. Here's what it's like for Kyle Schwarber on opening day, baby. Here he is.
You don't sleep well the night before because you got all the jitters and you know that the bank's going to be packed, and you know, you're excited to get back in front of your fan base, and we're excited to start the year. And it kind of feels like that. You know, it gives you that first sense of playoff, right? Because you're back, everyone's excited, and you know, obviously we're going to be playing a great team, and you know, it's just a lot of fun. It's just one of those things. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of a great way to word it, but it's hard for me. It's just like Christmas every day. You know, everyone looks forward to Christmas. Everyone looks forward to opening day, and you know, it gives you that goosebumps, the goosebumps every single time, and then it starts the journey.
I couldn't imagine playing at Citizens Bank Park with where we are now, with the love, with the appreciation, with just the idea that this team can go do it, and what it would be like to run out there on opening day. The goosebumps. But especially when it's sunny, when it's good weather, when you know what's going to happen, right? When it's all up in the air, obviously it puts a little damper on it, you know? But all right, there's Kyle Schwarber. There's your designated hitter, I think, right? I don't think he's playing left field. I don't think we're going to get that guy in the outfield again, please, no. But all right, let's take a couple calls here. I love you guys to death. You know that, so I want to make sure I get to play some of your calls. Here's Sean, and yeah, let's run to the Anytime Hotline.
Yes, Phillies baseball is back, and thank God, because I don't know about everybody else, but I had my fill of spring training games about 2 weeks ago. Look, I mean, this year is kind of hard for me to figure. I mean, I know this team and the organization has said all the right things in the off season. They were a little embarrassed by the Arizona loss. They realize how important little things like putting the ball in play consistently are in terms of getting them to and winning them the World Series. But there's also things that are cause for alarm for me, mainly Bryce Harper's back. I mean, I don't think you ever recover from a back injury. And the way he swings the bat with that torque, that could be something that lasts all year in his career. You know, Taijuan Walker is out. You have a little bit of, turnover in the bullpen. So to me, there's as many questions as answers. I can even throw the experience that is Johan Rojas into the mix because I don't know if this kid can hit his weight. But starting Thursday, we'll see what happens. It all starts for real.
All right, Sean, I appreciate the call. I'm there with you with the Bryce Harper back thing. It's just sort of sitting in the back of my mind, and I just feel at some point it's going to pop up, and I'll explode when that happens. Not blaming anybody by any means. I'll just explode in disappointment. But at the same time, Bryce has always been dynamic and has answered the bell. So, yeah, look, I lean towards a very similar way that I mentioned the Jordan Montgomery thing. Today, I don't know if I feel the passion to be upset about not having Montgomery or Bryce Harper's back, and it's just waiting for it to eventually happen. And when it does, then I'll feel that way. But right now, it's just the Christmas morning, as our DH just said. Kyle Schwartz, Christmas morning. So on Christmas morning, when it's Christmas Eve, this might be the perfect way to just say it. And real quick, about the spring training stuff, I have to admit, this has been probably my least watched spring training in quite some time. I just really haven't put the focus on it. I think it's because there's really not that much to it. Rojas didn't even really win the battle in center field, and he was handed the job. So there wasn't really much competition anywhere. There wasn't really much to it. It was just about get ready, be prepared for the start of the regular season. Whereas in years past, how's this guy look? Where are the holes with your roster? Competing for this job, that job? How's it going to line up? You didn't really do much because, well, over the last few years is when you got Schwarber and Castellanos in the same offseason. Trey Turner, you spent all your big money. You wanted to see them play the first time, even though it was just spring training. It was exciting to see them in the uniform, and the anticipation was there. I didn't really have that juice for this season because, well, it's killer mentality mode. But back to the whole Christmas Day thing. Christmas Eve, the anticipation is so high for the night of sleep and to wake up and see all the presents under the tree when you're super young. You're not worried about being disappointed by what you didn't get under the tree, right? You write out a list of 10 things you want. And let's say your family got you 8 of those things. So there's 2 that you didn't get. You might be disappointed a few days after Christmas when you wanted to play with one of those toys that you didn't get, but the night of, you're excited, you're thinking about the what if, you're not thinking about the presents you might not get. Well, that's sort of what I feel right now with the Bryce Harper back and the not getting Jordan Montgomery. Maybe a week, 2, 3, 4, 5, however long it takes for the Taijuan Walker thing to explode in your face, unless Spencer Turnbull's good. Dave Dombrowski spoke very highly on Spencer Turnbull. I don't know what he is, but for today's purpose, I'm not there, but I acknowledge everything you're saying because there's truth to it all. All right? Now, we'll wrap things up here with Mike. What do you got for us, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, Hunter? Me, Metal Mike here. My thoughts on the Phillies for this upcoming season? Here's what I want out of Rob Thompson. Let Wheeler deal. Let Aaronola do his thing. I want to see more out of Ranger Suarez. I want to see if we can get Ranger deep into a bowl game. I want to see him become more dominant. I want to see Ranger Suarez make that next big step as the starting pitcher. We're rated at a number 1 bullpen. I'm not worried about the bullpen. I want Ellis Bohm to hit for more power. I want that defense to be a little bit cleaner this season. And let's win a damn World Series.
I love it, Mike. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm on board with a lot of things you're saying. I would love to see Ranger take another step. I don't know if you were referencing Bohm defensively or just the team in general defensively. I think the team aspect defensively will definitely improve as a whole on that side of the diamond. But yeah, I pretty much co-sign a lot of what you're saying, Mike. Appreciate the call. All right, everybody, that's it, man. We're getting ready. I appreciate all your love and support, and I will be seeing you all on the next one.